Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Electric word life, it means forever, and that's a mighty long time, but I'm here to tell you, there's something else. The afterworld. A world of never-ending happiness. You can always see the sun, day or night. So when you call up that shrink in Beverly Hills, you know the one, Doc, everything will be all right. Instead of asking how much of your time is left, ask him how much of your mind, babe. Because in this life, things are much harder than the afterworld. In this life, you're on your own. And if the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy.
I just figured you're just going to jump right in the episode like you did last week. Welcome to episode 148 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 148. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the up and the down, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. I'm so excited Miranda will be here next weekend.
Hey!
Actually, she comes in Friday. So
nice.
Very excited. Happy to. It's been a year and a half since I've seen her.
Oh, wow.
We do video chats and whatnot, but
yeah.
But yeah, since I've actually seen her in person, so I'm really excited about that. I'm going to take a couple of days off work. She'll be here Friday through Tuesday.
Nice.
Yes, very excited. Very, very excited. So got to get the house ready and everything. So anyway, I don't have much of note besides that. You got anything? You want to dive right into it?
Well, we're going to a birthday party today at Cider King. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're talking about that in arcade. You're going to?
Yeah, kind of fun. I actually went there yesterday as team building exercise, and there was a 4-person Mario Kart that I got beat every time. We kept playing it because there was 4 of us in our team, so it was nice.
What kind of team building?
They told us we needed for the North Texas division. We needed to do some team building. So a lot of people went to axe throwing. It was like, hey, why don't we go to the arcade and play some games together? So we did.
Cool.
It was awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking up their website right now. Let's see. See here some of the. Oh, they have the Guns N' Roses pinball machine. That's awesome.
At least they do, and it was up and running too.
That's a
Beautiful.
good one.
Everything that is in our list except for the Dracula game. Oh, and they have the Star Trek flight simulator game, but it wasn't out on the floor. But everything else on our list was there.
The old video game?
Yep.
Huh.
It's on their list, but it's not. It wasn't out on the floor, so I'm assuming we're having it repaired.
Oh, they have a Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, they do have.
Love
it
that
works pretty
one.
good.
Tron.
Yeah.
Gauntlet Dark Legacy. Don't know what that is.
As far as I can tell, it is I didn't play it. It is you can play different gauntlets on it. So.
Geez, they've got a lot of video games. Wow.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
it's a pretty big building. It's like
Strategic Operations Simulator.
Yeah, that's it.
They have the Empire Strikes Back. Is that the sit down one?
Mm-hmm. No, it's not the sit down one.
That's cool though that they have the Empire. That's weird to find that one. Generally, you'll see the Star Wars one, the Death Star run, but you don't see the Empire Strikes Back one near as much. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, they had Gyrus and Galpus, and there's some other ones. The Popeye game was outstanding. It was in great shape.
Interesting.
The only problem I had, and I told them about it, the Phoenix game, when you hit the left and right buttons, because it was buttons, not a joystick. I prefer the joystick. It made the screen go all wonky, so they took it down and started repairing it.
Very cool.
I think there's a short in one of the buttons, but
Very cool. I'm amazed at the amount of video games that they have.
Oh my god, the place is huge, wild. and they do stuff with cider. So I mean, I didn't drink any of the cider, but we did have some. The pizza was really good.
Ghouls and Ghosts, which is one of the hardest games to ever play.
Oh yeah, still is. Kung Fu Master, which is one of my favorites. That was they called it Kung Fu on the NES. I couldn't even get off the first floor. I guess I'm just used to playing the NES version of it.
Oh wow, they have a battle zone.
Yeah.
Burger
it's
time.
A good one too. They have a sea wolf, and that sea wolf is in impeccable condition.
Huh, they didn't have Seawolf on the list. Interesting. Wild. Good stuff. Well, enjoy your time today. That's awesome. That's really awesome. All right. Well, why don't you take us down the nerdery side with part 2 of The Sound of Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, St. Paul has 2 unique sounds. We're going to talk about them today. Today, we'll talk about the other Twin City sound. It's coming up at the same time. So this Twin City sound was basically based in funk and jazz. And the first song we're going to talk about, I don't know, Geoffrey may not have heard this one. That's Prince's Let's Go Crazy.
Never heard it.
Never heard it?
I have no clue.
Not once?
No. Of course I know that
one.
Couldn't grow up in the 80s and not know that song.
That's true. It's a clarion call. It's an exceptional song, and I had to open the episode with the opening and open the list with that one. So again, Prince is playing in the same clubs that these indie bands are playing, and sometimes they even played on the same episodes. If you see Purple Rain, look out in the audience, you're going to see the Replacements and Husker Du, and they're in the movie. It's because Minneapolis was a mecca for music. Let's Go Crazy is just, I think, his best song. If you can...
Bigger than Purple Rain?
Yeah, I like
Wow.
Let's Go Crazy better than Purple Rain
Wow.
off the same album. But again, his best song. I don't think he had a bad one. I even like Bat Dance, which everybody says is like the worst song he ever did.
I heard that just recently. I love that song.
It's a great song. Uh, it's Prince, man. You can't go wrong with Prince. And yeah, everybody stop and just listen to that one song real quick, and then we go back.
Go listen to Bat Dance too.
Okay. the the so I don't know what to say about Let's Go Crazy other than it's Prince. It's off of the Purple Rain album. It's about, I think it's his fifth album at that point. He really got another groove of things, but it is quintessentially the other Minneapolis sound. Uh, the next one is The Time, Wild and Loose. Um, so The Time was a band created by Prince out of the ashes of Flight Time and Enterprise. So at the same time that those other Minneapolis bands were going around, the Flamin' O's and Suicide Commandos, Flight Time and Enterprise were revolving around at the same time. Flight Time and Enterprise, most of the people that I'm about to list were in one of those two bands. They were huge. The Time, which was also known as Morris Day in the Time, and the original Seven, is an American funk rock band founded in Minneapolis in 1981. It contributed to the development of the quote unquote Minneapolis sound, an electric fusion of funk, R&B, new wave, synth pop, and dance music, led by singer-songwriter Morris Day. The band members are known for having been close associations of the musician Prince and are arguably the most successful artists who have worked with him, achieving success with singles such as Get It Up, The Bird, Cool, 777, 9311, Jungle Love, and Jerk Out. I wanted to do Wild and Loose because it's the craziest song they have.
Now I got Jungle Love going through my head.
I was debating. I was like, do I want to do Jungle Love or Wild and Loose? I kind of like Wild and Loose a little better. Just
I can't
because it's a
stop
little
hearing it in
long.
my head.
Okay. Flight Time was a funk band from Minneapolis and launched careers of vocalist Cynthia Johnson, Alexander O'Neill, producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and many of the group's musicians would later work with Prince. The band's name is a sensational spelling of the phrase Flight Time. In 1981, Flight Time became The Time when Prince added two members of another local group, Enterprise, to the act. His childhood friend and drummer Morris Day and guitarist Jesse Johnson. Day became the group's frontman, replacing O'Neill. Jam and Lewis left The Time in 1983 to pursue an independent writing and producing career, resurrecting the Flight Time name for their production company and later their record label. So Flight Time Records is because of the band Flight Time. Wild and Loose is the quintessential party band song by the quintessential party band Morris Day and the Time. Again, Jungle Love is awesome. I like Wild and Loose a little better. It's just
so the quintessential party band more so than the Funkadelic, George Clinton.
Oh God.
Because I thought that was the ultimate party band.
Damn it. You know what? I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to say Morris Day and the Time is more of a party band than George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic. I said it. It is on the air. It is recorded for posterity. It is also quintessentially the Minneapolis sound. You can't get away from that one. So I'm assuming you have heard Wild and Loose. If you've seen Purple Rain, you've heard Wild and Loose. That's the song they're singing before Jungle Love.
I've never seen Purple Rain.
What the fuck? How have you never seen Purple Rain?
Never have.
Okay, you
didn't look like a movie I would enjoy.
It is.
Doesn't look like
Purple Rain.
Doesn't look like a movie I'd enjoy. I don't want to watch it.
Look at that tiny little man in purple riding a giant motorcycle. It's awesome.
Don't care. I like Prince. Just don't care about the movie.
The music's worth it. And Morris Day is insane.
I can listen to the damn music. I don't have to watch the movie.
Morris Day is insane in that movie. It's great.
I can see Morris Day in Jane Silent Bob.
That's true. What do you want to get wild and loose? Wild and loose. Wild and loose. Love the song. And again, quintessential of the Minneapolis sound. The next song on this list is Fake by Alexander O'Neal. Alexander O'Neal was originally from Natchez, Mississippi. But when he was just a few months old, his father died. And after graduating high school in Natchez, he attended Alcorn State University. And at the age of 20, he relocated to Minneapolis, where he performed with several bands, including the Mystics and Wind Chimes. He became a member of Enterprise for a brief period before joining Flight Time, a band which included Monty Moore, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis going to come up a lot. There is a great documentary about the Minneapolis sound, which I believe I've included most of in our YouTube playlist, where you can also hear these songs. But Fake by Alexander O'Neal. Hold on a second. The next song in our list, well, okay, Alexander O'Neal's Fake. Again, quintessentially that sound, but it's got more of an R&B jam behind it. Have you heard this one before, Alexander O'Neal? Any of this stuff? Okay.
You didn't give me a list.
I did give you a list. I just gave it to you like really late. Alexander O'Neal's Fake is quintessentially Minneapolis, but it leans a little more heavily towards the R&B sound. We've discussed before we have discussed before the
thing with the stuff.
Yeah, the thing with the stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. New Jack Swing.
Yes.
Yeah. New Jack Swing. This is it's not quite New Jack Swing yet, but it's where the Minneapolis sound kind of starts to morph into the New Jack Swing. And you can hear a lot of that in Alexander O'Neal. Again, he was one of the main songsters from that time. The next song is The Glamorous Life by Sheila E. Sheila E. is not from Minnesota. She was from Oakland, California. She's the daughter of Juanita Gardere, a dairy factory worker, and percussionist Pete Escovedo, with whom she frequently performs. Her mother is a Creole French African descent, and her father is of Mexican American origin, and she was raised Catholic. Sheila E.'s uncle is Alejandro Escovedo, Javier Escovedo, founder of the seminal San Diego punk acts, The Zeros, and Mario Escovedo, who fronted long-running indie rockers, The Dragons, and Coke Escovedo, who was in Santana and formed the band Azteca. Nicole Richie is Sheila E.'s biological niece, the daughter of Sheila's musician brother, Peter Michael Escovedo. And they all worked for Tito Puente. That's who taught Sheila E. how to play the drums. Now, granted, she's in all this California stuff, right? In Oakland. But she's doing some tours with her band, and she basically decides that she likes the sound that's going on in Minneapolis, both the sounds. So she decides to kind of become a Minneapolis artist, to go from Oakland, California to Minneapolis. She must have done it in the summer. That's all I'm saying. But Prince met Sheila E. at a concert in 1977 when she was performing with her father. And after the show, he met her and told her that he and his bassist, Andre Simone, were just fighting about which one would be the first to be your husband. He also vowed that one day she would join his band. The two would eventually join forces during the Purple Rain recording sessions. She provided vocals to the Prince song Erotic City in 1984. Though part of Prince's camp to some degree, she proved to be an artist in her own right as well. In June of 1984, her debut album, The Glamorous Life, was released by Warner Brothers Records. The album's title song, The Glamorous Life, peaked at number 7 on the U.S. Hot 100 and also topped the dance charts for 2 weeks in August of 1984. The video for the song would bring 3 MTV Award nominations: Best Female Video, Best New Artist, and Best Choreography. She also received 2 Grammy nominations for Best New Artist and Best Pop Vocal Performance Female. The second single, The Belle of St. Mark's, became a moderate hit, peaking at number 34 in the Hot 100. But today, we are going to talk about the glamorous life. Sheila E. also toured with opening acts for Prince on the Purple Rain tour. Um, and the two began a romantic relationship while Prince was still involved with Susanna Malovan, twin sister of the Revolutionary band member Wendy Malovan. They would later become briefly engaged in the 1980s during Prince's Love Sexy tour. Um, so yeah, The Glamorous Life by Sheila E.
I'm not a Sheila E. fan.
You don't like Sheila E?
I'm not. I never have been. I've never been a Sheila E. fan. I just something about her stuff. I just never got into.
Is it? You know what? It might be all of that that jazz drumming, and I know you're not a big fan of jazz.
I like jazz,
but there's a lot of jazzy stuff in there, and I could see where you wouldn't dig that.
I like jazz. I've just never liked Sheila E.
Well, the Glamorous Life again. It's even though she's from Oakland, most of her band's from Oakland, because she was working with the Purple group. This has a quintessentially Minneapolis sound to it, and I wanted to include it on this list. And it was a hit. The next band is the Jets. Crush on You. You know this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you know that I never told you? Found out I got a crush on you.
I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, totally cheesy.
Don't like it.
They're a Tongan American family music group from Robinsondale, a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Jets are composed of brothers and sisters Leroy, Eddie, Eugene, Honey, Rudy, Kathy, Elizabeth, and Mona Wolfgram, who performed pop, R&B, and dance music. They started performing as a family band in 1977. The group enjoyed worldwide success in 1985 to 1990, performing 3 world tours and producing 5 top 10 U.S. hits on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. The original band consisted of the 8 oldest children of Mikaeli Mike and Vake Wolfgram, who were originally from Tonga. The family had 17 children. Jeez. 15 by birth and 2, Eddie and Eugene, by adoption. Children attended Robinsondale Cooper High School, and the family are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Which is weird. There's a lot of Seventh-day Adventists and Mormons who were of Tongan descent. Apparently, that was the big push of Christianity in Tonga. So it's very odd, but that's just kind of how it played out. The band eventually called themselves Quasar and are a now defunct brand of television sets. They changed their name to the Jets, a name taken from Elton John's song Benny and the Jets, on the suggestion of their manager Don Powell. Now, Don Powell had retired from music, but these people invited him out to this Holiday Inn that they were playing at every day. And he went and saw them, and he says, okay, you guys are really incredible. You're great dancers. You're great musicians. You're great singers. You got to quit dressing in the Tongan outfits, wear regular clothes, and we're changing your name to the Jets. And like 6 months after he said that, they released Crush on You, which was a hit. It was huge. And they play the Minneapolis State Fair the Minnesota State Fair to cheering and adoring crowds. Again, this is that sound, but this is the poppy edge of it. A lot of these songs made it onto the pop charts. This is a straight up pop song. Not crazy about it, but it is fun and it is worth mentioning.
Me neither.
Not so much?
Nope.
Okay. The next song is Mint Condition, the band Mint Condition, and the song is Breaking My Heart, also known as Pretty Brown Eyes, because they say Pretty Brown Eyes a lot. Mint Condition is an American R&B band from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The band is focused on diverse genres such as jazz, hip-hop, funk, and dance. Mint Condition has also been nominated for 1 Grammy and 3 Soul Train Awards. The group is credited with being one of the last major funk bands to chart before hip-hop and New Jack Swing dominated black music in the 1990s. Mint Condition was formerly in the early 1980s or formed early in the 1980s. The band was originally made up of lead singer and in-studio drummer Stokely Williams, lead guitarist Homer Odell, keyboardist Larry Waddell, keyboardist saxophonist Jeff Allen, keyboardist percussionist rhythm guitarist Kerry Lewis, and bass guitarist Rick Kinchin. They were discovered by music producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. There they are again in 1989 during a performance at First Avenue again, in downtown Minneapolis, and signed mint condition through Perspective Records soon afterwards. Their debut album, Meant to Be Mint, was released on June 11th, 1991 by Perspective. Afterwards, the attempt to attract New Jack Swing listeners with their Breaking My Heart, Pretty Brown Eyes, which stayed on the charts for 34 weeks, reached the R&B top 5 and the pop's top 10, and was certified gold by the RIAA. Do you remember Mint Condition, Breaking My Heart, or Pretty Brown Eyes?
Yeah, no,
not at all. Pretty Brown Eyes.
No.
I did not know the name of the song was Breaking My Heart. I was convinced because I have heard it before. I thought the name of the song was Pretty Brown Eyes. I didn't realize it was actually Breaking My Heart.
I'm sure we have listeners who are sitting on one side going, "Yeah, this is great. I remember this song. I remember this," and then people are sitting on this side with me going, "Yep, nope,
not at all, not at all." To me, it sounds like the beginning of New Jack Swing, but not quite. It's still, again, it's almost there. But it's definitely one of those R&B tunes that are great that everybody was listening to back in the day. So it's definitely one you guys want to get out and listen to. The thing is, if you look it up as Pretty Brown Eyes, it's going to say Breaking My Heart, and you'll be like, no, the name of the song is Pretty Brown Eyes. No, it's not. It's actually Breaking My Heart. Pretty Brown Eyes is in parentheses. The next song is by Jesse Johnson, and it's Can You Help Me? Jesse Johnson was born in Rock Island, Illinois, and he moved to East St. Louis, Illinois at the age of 9 and was raised by foster parents after his parents split up. At age 16, he moved back to Rock Island to live with his father, Jackson Johnson. Johnson began playing guitar when he was 15, honing his chops in local rock bands such as Treacherous Funk, Pilot, and Dealer. Throughout his teens and early 20s, on the recommendation of fellow musician Robbie Muskie from the band Midnight Express, he moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1981, where he met Morris Day and played briefly in Day's band, which was called Enterprise. He then became the lead guitarist for the Time, punk rock group formed by Prince. Although Prince basically wrote and recorded the first 2 Time albums on his own with input from Morris Day, Johnson did contribute to another Prince project, Vanity 6, with a song called Bite the Beat, co-written with Prince. On the Time's 3rd album, Ice Cream Castle, Johnson contributed the hit single The Bird and Jungle Love. So yeah, which would help the popularity of the Purple Rain film. However, at the height of the Time's popularity following Purple Rain, following the departure of Morris Day, Johnson left the band and with the help of manager Owen Hunzy signed a solo deal with A&M Records. In 1984, he released Jesse Johnson's Review. The album featured 2 other former members of the Time in Johnson's backing band, keyboardist Mark Cardenas and bassist Jerry Hubbard. 3 songs released for that album: Be Your Man, Can You Help Me, and I Want My Girl. Now, a lot of people look at Jesse Johnson, especially in this video, and you think, oh my God, he is trying to rip off Prince. He is not. He is not trying to rip off Prince. That's the way people in this genre dressed and looked and sang. It has been called, again, by the people at large, outside of the scene, as being like a Prince ripoff. It's not. I have included a Prince ripoff into this list. This is not it. Can You Help Me is a great song. It is part of that Minneapolis sound, and it's one that kind of went under the radar a little bit. But yeah, you guys definitely need to check out Can You Help Me by Jesse Johnson, who was in the mix of all of this stuff. The next one is Good as Hell by Lizzo. I told you we would have some stuff that's modern that is the Minneapolis sound. If you like Lizzo, you will like all of this stuff. If you like Prince, you're going to like all of this stuff, and Lizzo is right in the heart of it. She's known professionally as Lizzo. Her name is Melissa Vivian Jefferson. She is a rapper and a singer. She is from Detroit originally. She moved to Houston, Texas with her family at the age of 10. And after college, she moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where she began a recording career in hip hop music. Prior to singing with Nice Life Recording Company and Atlantic Records, Lizzo released 2 studio albums, Lizzo Bangers and Big Girl Small World. Her first major label, Extended Play, Coconut Oil, was released in 2016. Lizzo attained mainstream success with the release of her 3rd studio album, Cause I Love You, which peaked at number 4 on the US Billboard 200. The album spawned the singles Juice and Tempo. The deluxe version of the album included Lizzo's 2017 single Truth Hurts, which became a viral sleeper hit. And then on her next album, she released Good as Hell. Good as Hell is, to quote a baseball term, right down the line. It's a roper right between the foul lines when it got hit. And it's fun, it's raucous, it's a good listen, and it's Minneapolis all over the place. What do you think about Good as Hell by Lizzo? You like Lizzo?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You don't know Lizzo at all?
No.
Lizzo's huge.
I don't know. Is it modern?
Yeah, it's very modern.
See? No.
Yeah, this was released in like 2019.
No, I don't listen to much modern music.
Oh.
I'm stuck in the 80s, man.
Okay. Well, then you would like this.
I've heard the name. I know the name. I just don't know any of the music.
So the next band is Ready for the World, and it's Oh Sheila. Ready for the World is an American R&B band from Flint, Michigan that scored several pop, soul, and dance hits in the mid to late 80s. They were founded by Melvin Riley and Strozier. Oh Sheila is the ripoff song. They were trying to make a Minneapolis sound too. They weren't necessarily trying to copy Prince, but they wanted to make that sound. That's not really what they did, but
yeah, they are definitely ripping off Prince with this song. Definitely.
They are definitely trying to make a Minneapolis sound. This is not what they did after that. They were more of an R&B band, but yeah, they wanted to make a Minneapolis song, and boy, did they.
Yeah, I know this song, and I hate this song.
You don't like Oh Sheila?
No, I hate this song.
This song plays in my head at least once a month.
I'd rather saw off my toes.
You're not a fan of Oh Sheila.
No.
Sorry, man. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Hey, kids, if you're out there, Oh Sheila is a quintessentially 80s tune where they're kind of ripping off the Minneapolis sound.
Not even kinda.
That's what they're going for. This is not, again, that's not what they did later on, but there you go. Okay. So the next one is by Andre Simone. It's Dance Electric. Andre Simone is an American bassist, songwriter, record producer. He was bass guitarist for Prince's touring band pre-Revolution. And in 1981, Simone broke out from Prince's band and began a solo career. As a solo artist, he released Living in the New Wave, Surviving in the 80s, and AC, all of which were well-received studio albums. The visionary fusion of new wave and funk explored on these albums spawned half a dozen R&B singles. His song "The Dance Electric" was written by Prince and reached number 10 on the R&B charts in 1985. Simone later co-wrote and produced hit songs for other acts, including his wife Jody Watley's "Looking for a New Love." So yeah, Andre Simone is married to Jody Watley. I think still. Again, he is in the orbit of the rest of them. To me, this almost sounds European. It does have that Minneapolis sound to it, but it also sounds like he was hanging out with New Order when he made it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, Dance Electric is great. It's more of a dance song, but it's still in that Minneapolis sound genre. And you've never heard this one, have you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So the next song is Bang Bang by Brown Mark. Brown Mark is the recording name of Mark Brown. He just called himself Brown Mark. He's actually from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was the bass guitarist for the Revolution. And he started working for Prince in '81, a year out of high school. Noted for his unique funk bass style of musicianship, he became a record producer and recording artist himself after parting company with Prince in 1986. His early influences on bass are Larry Graham, Stanley Clarke, Louis Johnson, Mark Adams from Slave, Jaco Pastorius, Verdine White, Nate Phillips of the Dazz Band, and Bootsy Collins. Bootsy! Brown joined Prince's band in '81 for the Controversy album. That was the name of the album, Controversy. One of his earliest shows with Prince was opening for the Rolling Stones. Wow. A year out of high school, he's opening for the Rolling Stones. That's crazy. He remained with Prince and was a member of the Revolution Band for Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, and Parade. Contributing bass and backing vocals. I woke up this morning. That's Brown Mark, or Mark Brown. In 1999. I love this song. It did not get a whole lot of play. Bang Bang is awesome. The last song in our list is Affair by Cherelle. It's better known as her stage name, Cherelle. Her name is Cheryl Ann Norton. Is an American R&B singer and songwriter who gained fame in the mid-'80s. Her signature hits include I Didn't Mean to Turn You On, Where Do I Run To, Everything I Miss at Home, and duets with R&B singer Alexander O'Neal, such as Saturday Night, which we talked about Alexander O'Neal, and Never Know Love Like This, as well as her cousin, always with her cousin Pebbles. Cherelle is very big in the Minneapolis sound. She is not big outside of it. Her biggest claim to fame is she wrote I Didn't Mean to Turn You On, and it was covered by Robert Palmer on the Riptide.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why I know that song.
Yeah. And, Pebbles was her cousin. But Cherelle is really big in this movement. Not many people outside of this movement know Cherelle. So, just like Alexander O'Neal, it's definitely something you want to listen to. And Affair was like her biggest hit other than I Didn't Mean to Turn You On.
Mm-hmm.
But that is about it for part 2 of the Minneapolis list. Thank you for going through that with me. Geoffrey, I think you should listen to this music list because I think there's a bunch of songs on here you're going to love, with the exception of Oh Sheila.
Yeah, can't stand it.
Yeah, don't listen to Oh Sheila. Listen to the rest of it. You're going to love Brown.
I'm not going to listen to Oh Sheila. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Listen to the rest of them. You're going to love the Andre Simone. I think you're going to dig the shit out of.
Yeah, you hand me the Oh Sheila album, I'm gonna smack you in the face with it.
No. Just skip that one. Listen to the rest of them.
But I want to smack you in the face with it.
Don't smack me in the face. You're like 800 miles away. You're gonna have to throw awful hard.
I'd make a special trip just to smack you in the face with Oh Sheila.
All right, you come up here and show up. I if I could find a copy of Oh Sheila, I'll let you smack me in the face with it. How about that?
All right, awesome. All right, thanks for another musical trip. Appreciate that. Hope everybody goes out there and listens to it. Decide whether you agree with Zig or agree with me and go meh. But I'll give it a listen. Okay. Now that I have the list. So with that, we will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the Charlie Project, Medium, Uncovered, and Fox 59 News. And it's been a while since we've done one of these. This is the disappearance of Molly Dattilo.
Molly Dattilo.
So Molly Dattilo could run her heart out every day and not get tired. She loved running so much, she was even offered a scholarship to attend Eastern Kentucky University. And this was not too far from her hometown in Madison, Indiana, and she was thrilled to head off to college and keep running. It wasn't the only hobby she enjoyed. She was also a singer. In fact, her dream was to go on American Idol, something she was planning on putting in motion in the summer of 2004. She went to Indianapolis that summer to take some courses at IUPUI, which is Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis.
Wow.
No wonder you abbreviate it.
Yep.
She was living in an apartment near campus. On July 6th of that year, she was planning on going to Wendy's to apply for a job, and she went and did some shopping for her upcoming nephew's birthday, and she would make a phone call to a friend from a payphone at 11 p.m. that night. However, Molly Dattilo would never be seen or heard from again. So where is Molly Dattilo?
Where is Molly Dattilo?
Molly was born on June 13th, 1982. She was the youngest of 9 children. Again, growing up in Madison, Indiana, she learned early on there were a couple things she enjoyed and she was good at. The first were singing. She was always singing and even took private voice lessons. And those who heard her sing said she was very talented. It had been a dream of hers to attend an American Idol audition. She was finally excited to be able to attend in 2004. And even as a college student, Molly continued to take private voice lessons and work hard to get better. And this was a trait she took with her in everything she did. Hard work and determination were her main strengths. Her other hobby, as we talked about, was running. She did competitive running. She had been named in the top 10 of high school runners in the state of Indiana for her entire 4 years of high school. She got the scholarship to Eastern Kentucky University and ran for a few years for the school. And in 2004, she had just finished up her 4th and final year of running for EKU. In fact, after 4 years of college at Eastern Kentucky, Molly wasn't quite ready for graduation, which is when she decided to take some summer classes at IUPUI. They offer classes and degrees from both Indiana University and Purdue University. She moved there to move in with her brother in the Westlake apartment complex, which was located on the west side of Indianapolis, about 5 miles from the college. And she had a car, so getting around wasn't a problem. And the Westlake apartments had a fair amount of young people living there, and Molly was a social butterfly. She made friends easily, and she just loved to hang out and be with, quote, her people.
Nice.
On July 6, 2004, Molly attended her classes as normal, and that afternoon she did some shopping, looking specifically for a present for her little nephew's birthday, which was in a couple of weeks, and she wanted to drop off some job applications. A little later into the evening, around 7 p.m., Molly decided to walk to a Wendy's fast food restaurant. This Wendy's was about a half mile from her apartment, and she wanted to drop off a job application. While walking, or possibly even at Wendy's, Molly ran into her brother's friend. They chatted for a minute, then Molly left, headed back to her apartment. And she ended up going to the apartment of one of her friends when she got back, and there were several people who were just hanging out. There, Molly began talking to a young man by the name of John Shelton. Generally, when we name people out, it's not a good thing.
There's a reason for it.
John convinced her to let him take her for a boat ride on one of the small ponds on the property of the complex, and it just so happened that John had the hookup as his brother Benji was a maintenance worker there at the apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Benji was able to help John get the boat, which had been locked up in a shed, and John and Molly went for a boat ride. Afterwards, they went to Taco Bell for a quick bite to eat. When they left Taco Bell, however, they didn't go back to the apartments. In fact, for some reason, they continued on past the apartments and drove a couple miles in the other direction. 2004. No one's really sure why or where else they may be going, but at 11 p.m., Molly asked John to stop at Thornton's gas station, and Molly went over to use a payphone to call up one of her friends. So I think this is a very interesting case in point. They drove past her apartments to a gas station to use a payphone.
Okay.
So cell phones were around, but they weren't smartphones like we have now. Not everybody didn't carry them, as they do today. She'd also been out about all day, so her phone had been needed charging. They had low battery lives.
Yeah, you didn't have more than hour and a half, maybe.
I don't remember if it was that low, but they definitely didn't have all day batteries like you can have now.
Yeah.
And the last thing is she may have just been thinking she'd only been gone for a few minutes, or I don't know, maybe she forgot it. But I think it's kind of important to remember they went past the apartments where she had a phone so that she could use a payphone. I think it's interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
So the gas station was just a couple miles from her apartment complex. Apparently, Molly felt the need to stop and use the payphone to call a friend. And later, when asked about this call, the friend said she did get a call from Molly, but before Molly could say anything, the line just disconnected. At the time, she thought they got cut off and nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but this is the last known communication or attempt at communication from Molly. On July 8, 2004, 2 days later, Molly's brother was starting to panic. They shared that apartment together, and they often went a day or two without seeing each other, but he
Yeah.
realized they were now approaching day 3.
Yeah.
Not only that, all of her belongings were sitting untouched in the apartment, meaning she hadn't come back at all. Her cell phone was there, her ATM card and her ID were all sitting in the same place. And
She's not going to go anywhere without that stuff.
No. Well, and also her car had also remained at the apartment unmoved. He had said it wasn't too unusual for Molly to disappear with a day or two. She was always with friends, and it seemed at first that maybe she was staying with one of them or just hanging out. But as he put the pieces together, realizing he hadn't seen her and she left everything behind, he really began to worry, so he called the police to report her missing. The police in Indianapolis took the call that day, but they really didn't do anything. When questioned later about their slow reaction to looking for Molly, one detective stated, quote, and this is a quote, "It just isn't a priority." So Molly disappears into thin air. Let's say it again, nerds and merds. It's not a priority.
It's not a priority. Yeah.
Law enforcement believe that this.
This can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. They believe this 23-year-old girl who was a very social student was just likely off with friends somewhere, which is fine. At 23, you can go wherever you please, and she certainly doesn't have to tell her brother. But her friends and family were telling investigators there was no way Molly would just disappear without telling them, but police just weren't listening, and so there wouldn't be an immediate search for Molly. What continued to raise red flags for her family was that all of Molly's activity completely stopped on July 6th. She was a really good student, but she stopped going to classes. Completed job applications sat in the back of her car, as did the birthday present she bought for her nephew.
Yeah.
Her ATM card still sat in the apartment, and her bank account was still holding a considerable amount of cash, and there were no transactions recorded after July 6th. But still, there was no official search that was conducted. Her family said that it would be well over 30 days after she was reported missing that any attempt at searching was even started. Because remember, the police, it wasn't a priority.
It's not a priority. This can wait till.
So eventually, the police do start to retrace Molly's steps from July 6th. They did see that she went to class, went shopping, applied for jobs, went to a friend's apartment, went boating with John, and then to Taco Bell. At first, they believe that's where her activity stops, and initially the news media reported exactly that. But then later, they would learn of the phone call from the gas station that happened around 11 p.m. that night, and they did confirm that. So they go and speak with John Shelton, the last person known to be with Molly. And while they don't ever realize the full details or release the full details of that conversation to the public, they did come away with that discussion with a new outlook on Molly's case. They had new questions, and the answers they were getting weren't making a lot of sense. When questioned, he claimed he took Molly home after they left the gas station. They turned up the search, and they concentrated on the area of Westlake Apartments, and they searched the pond where she took a boat ride earlier that day. Google Map does show a couple of ponds. Don't know if they checked both of them or not. They followed her route to Wendy's that evening and focused efforts on searching there. And then Molly's case finally makes it to the local news stations. By all accounts, Molly's life seemed pretty normal that day. But then the new friend enters the picture, John Shelton. People have come forward to talk about what a shady character he was and bad news, but nothing really specific. A criminal background check shows John Shelton was in trouble with the law many times, beginning in 1994 with a felony theft charge. From there, we have multiple operating a vehicle while impaired, resisting law enforcement, intimidation, driving under lifetime suspension, more theft charges, and finally a drug charge that was that puts him in prison through the year that would eventually put him in prison through the year 2038. We do know that he's the last person with Molly, but something during law enforcement questioning caused them to believe John knew more than he was saying. The only thing we know is that John admitted to being with Molly that day and evening, and he admitted driving her to the payphone that night. Then he claims he took her home. However,
Why drive her to the payphone and then back to her house? Why not just drop her off
exactly,
at the
and I
house?
think that's why that's a very key point. Her phone was at her house.
Yeah.
It's not clear why she had to, because she made the call. Well, the call was made to the friend.
Yeah.
So
She got the phone and it's disconnected.
it's just
Okay.
a weird. It's when she picked it up, it was disconnected. Yeah.
Yeah.
The story doesn't really end with John, though, because there's another person that's been pointed out as a person of interest. His father, Edward Shelton, has also been named. We don't know the exact connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the more information we have on an unsolved case, the more the public can help with tips to law enforcement, but not always. And there are times detectives need to protect the information they have.
Yeah.
The Dattilo family is also convinced that John and Edward are responsible that something happened to Molly, but Molly has never been found, nor were any real clues ever revealed.
So there's no remains anywhere.
They haven't found any. As of December of 2005, Molly's father passed away without ever knowing what happened to his daughter.
Ugh.
Family members said he was sick near the end, but he was still working the searches for Molly and been preparing for another one when he died. Relatives said he died of grief, not knowing where Molly was and what happened to her. The family is still extremely unhappy with the reaction from law enforcement, or lack thereof. Her family did go to her apartment 1 week after she was reported missing, and police hadn't even been to the apartment because, it took them 30 days to start the search.
Yep.
And police wouldn't actually even interview friends and neighbors at the apartment complex until 1 full year after Molly vanished. And who's going to remember anything at that point?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to remember everything that happened after, but,
Yeah.
it won't stick in your mind until something happens.
No.
If you'd have caught them the first few days, you probably could have gotten them more.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind.
One of Molly's cousins, Carrie, was a reporter in Los Angeles at the time Molly disappeared, and she couldn't believe the lack of response. And she flew to Indianapolis to see what she could do. The family began making media rounds and started working with state lawmakers to change the way missing person cases were handled. They even worked with Project Jason for a time, which is an organization set up by Jason Jolowski's mother after her son went missing. And finally, in 2007, after a lengthy process and legal fight for change, Molly's Law was passed.
Nice.
The Molly Dattilo law requires law enforcement to accept missing person reports immediately and identifies those at high risk.
That's right. I mean, hey, if you're wrong and the person was just at somebody's house, what has it cost us?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
What has it cost us?
Exactly.
The whole point of the police is to serve and protect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not filing a false police report if you just happen to be wrong.
Right. Exactly. Part of this law also offers annual missing persons training for police departments.
There you go.
Legislation similar to Molly's Law is being enacted all over the country. In fact, Molly's cousin Amy has worked to get the law passed in other states, including her home state of Arizona.
Nice.
In addition to the work for Molly's Law, her family also helps with an annual 5K that's done in Molly's honor, which is a perfect way to honor her since she loved to run so much. Yep. The race still takes place in Madison, Indiana, where Molly grew up to this day. The family has never ended their search for Molly, their search for justice, and their hope for answers. Both John and Edward would end up in court for Molly's case. In 2010, the Dattilo family won a $3.5 million judgment against Shelton and his father, alleging the two men were involved in the Dattilo disappearance.
Wow.
Information came out during that trial that there was vomit found in Shelton's car, and police believe that Molly was possibly strangled in the car.
Oh.
The Dattilo family won the case by default, as neither John nor Edward came forward to defend themselves, which is interesting because John was an inmate at the state prison in Plainfield during this lawsuit.
Yeah. Usually prisoners, when they get a chance to go to court, they go.
Yeah.
Gets them out of jail. They get a decent meal.
Edward Shelton was never able to be located, but he was found negligent in the lawsuit. And the fact that he was a no-show in court also raises eyebrows.
Yeah, it does.
They were never charged criminally, but there's a different threshold for a civil trial. In a criminal trial, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. In a civil trial, you only have to prove beyond a preponderance of evidence. It's much less that you have to prove. So the total amount of $3.5 million was split. The judgment includes $1.7 million for lost earnings, pain, and suffering, and another $1.7 million in punitive damages. And the family knows they're never going to receive a dime of that money, but that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to have someone be held responsible for Molly's disappearance and likely death.
Yep.
In 2014, John Shelton was released from prison. He would end up back behind bars where he's going to stay until 2038. But for a short time, he was free. During that time, the local Fox News station interviewed him, and he was living with his girlfriend, and they agreed to speak, but not on camera. He continued to proclaim his innocence, saying, quote, I was the only person dumb enough to admit I was with Molly that night. In 2017, a judge would declare Molly legally deceased, with her date of disappearance being July 6, 2004, being the date of her death. This was a step the family believed was necessary. Molly's sister, Celestra Dewey, said, quote, we presume that she is dead at this point, so I do not feel as a way of giving up. Just because someone's legally dead doesn't mean you will ever stop searching for them. So as with many unsolved cases, there's always unanswered questions that leave us wondering. And we've talked about this throughout this episode. What was the intention of the call to the friend from the payphone? That's a weird one. Why did John and Molly leave Taco Bell that night, drive past her apartment another 2 miles, and then stop at the gas station to make a call? Why not just stop at her apartment if she wanted to call a friend? Why did they pass it? What was her reason for calling? Did she possibly need help, or was it an innocent enough call?
Yeah.
Why was the phone disconnected? Was she not supposed to make the call, and John or somebody else disconnected the line?
That's what I'm thinking.
There's no evidence that proves why the call was made or what the intention was, but it seems odd. Again, she was.
They know the call was made.
They know the call was made.
It was from Molly.
Yeah, they know it was from Molly. And, she was just a couple miles from her apartment where her cell phone was, and most likely they had a landline too, being 2004. So why not stop there?
Yep.
Another question that's never really been answered, how did Edward become implicated?
Yeah.
He was enough to even be found guilty at the civil suit, so maybe he knew he was guilty, or at least the evidence was overwhelming against him because he never showed up in court to fight it. And where is Edward today? There's a few different Edward Sheltons in the Marion County area, but no idea about him.
Yeah.
As for theories, there's really only just one main theory in this case. She's missing, and we don't know exactly what happened to her or where she is. You'd think by this point, 18 years later, someone would have come forward with something. And if it's just John and Edward that know something, it's interesting that neither of them have given up information either. John's still in prison until 2038, and it doesn't seem like he'd have a whole lot to lose at this point. There is still a missing girl out there who needs to be found and brought home properly, and it's possible somebody out there knows something. It's very possible there's a tip out there that can break this case wide open.
Yep.
In 2004, Molly was described as a Caucasian female, about 5 feet tall and weighing about 100 pounds. She was a small girl.
Mm-hmm.
She had brown hair, hazel green eyes, and either wears contact lenses or glasses. It's believed she was wearing a pink tie-dyed shirt on July 6th when she was last seen. The tip of Molly's left thumb and the nail on that thumb are slightly deformed and shortened and made hook-like from a childhood accident.
Mm-hmm.
She has a dime-sized brown birthmark on the outside of her right elbow.
Okay.
So if you have any information on the whereabouts of Molly Dattilo, please contact the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department at 812-265-2648, the Madison Police Department at 812-265-3347, or the Marion County Sheriff's Department at 317-265-3347. 231-8154. Keep sharing her story because the answers are still out there.
Yes.
Keep talking about it. Share this information with everyone you know. Keep talking. Keep the pressure on the alleged perpetrators. Don't give up. And if you know somebody who is missing, do everything you can to keep your loved one's name in the headlines. And if the police aren't doing anything, make noise.
Make noise. Make a lot of noise. And if you
Yes.
see something, say something. If
Absolutely.
the first person doesn't listen, tell the next one.
Absolutely. And that's the story of the disappearance of Molly Dattilo.
Thank you very much for that.
You bet. I think these are really important to keep telling, the ones out there where people have disappeared and have never come back. I've got a few more in my list that I plan to go over, but we hadn't done one in a while, so felt the need to share that one, and I ran across it. So
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for taking that journey with me. As always, that's the end of our recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderyandmurdery.com. That's our hub for everything about the show. We do have links for everything we talk about the episode, plus pictures, and link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
That's right. All of these songs are in that list, as well as a documentary about some of the sounds and how that sounds work.
Fantastic. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your Nerdery and Murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing some merchandise from there. That, along with our Patreon, the link is on our website. Our patrons do help with the cost going to the show. Both our merchandise and our patrons help. There are costs that are associated with keeping the show going, producing,
Yes,
bringing everything up on the air, equipment that we have to purchase. So it's not cheap. Do please consider donating to the show to help us along with those costs. As part of that, you do get episodes early, and you also get exclusive episodes that are not available to anybody else. We don't even put the videos out there.
Nope. Please and thank you, and check out those episodes as a patron. It's stuff that you are going to be interested in.
Yeah, there's good stuff out there. So please do consider that. Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our contact that may be looking for the stuff we talk about. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.